So if you're one of those people who's online screaming about how Petr Yan was robbed in his fight against Sean O'Malley on Saturday, listen, you've got to stop. What we saw was not a robbery. Now, I think just about 75% of the MMA fan population, no matter how knowledgeable they are or how unknowledgeable they are, would agree that Petr Yan should have probably gotten the nod in that fight. I felt the same way. Now listen, I wanted Sean O'Malley to win. I'm a huge fan of Sean O'Malley simply because I love his style. I love his style of fighting, that dynamic striking. I just think it's a beautiful thing to watch. I was pulling for him. I wanted him to win. But at the end of the fight, as I was sitting there, I felt pretty confident that they were going to give the nod to Petr Yan. I felt like he did enough to win the fight. My son, who also knows a lot about MMA, he's 16 years old, was sitting there with me. He just knew Petr Yan was going to get the nod, and when they called out Sean O'Malley's name, he was in a complete state of shock. I, on the other hand, was not in a complete state of shock, and I felt like it was razor close enough that it could have gone in the favor of Sean O'Malley for a lot of reasons, one of those being mainly damage. Now, I've been watching MMA since before it was even called MMA, back when Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock were rolling around on the canvas for 30 minutes together. That's how long I've been watching MMA. So I pretty much know the criteria of what they're looking for. And the reason that Sean O'Malley got the nod in that fight is because he inflicted more damage on Petr Yan than Petr Yan did on Sean O'Malley. And in a Abu Dhabi crowd where obviously most of the crowd is going to be pro Petr Yan, you know, obviously every time Petr Yan did anything that even resembled something good, the place went wild. The place was, you know, I mean, they were blowing off the roof to that place every time Petr Yan landed a punch or a kick. Rightfully so, and that's fine. And it was very competitive. It was very close. Sean O'Malley hurt Petr Yan a couple of times. Petr Yan hurt him back a couple of times. But what I keep hearing is that this was a robbery. Listen, a robbery is when one fighter clearly and concisely beat, if not to a certain degree, dominated another fighter, but then the judges overtly give the decision to the person who was dominated, not the person who did the dominating. This was not that case. This was close. It was a close fight. I think they gave it to Sean O'Malley, not just on his striking numbers, but that he also caused the cut on Petr Yan. There was more physical damage. And I know everyone, oh, the takedowns. Listen, he had 5 minutes of ground control, about 5 or 6 takedowns. So that lets you know right there, he wasn't doing a lot with the takedowns once he took him down. There was a couple of times he took him down, and O'Malley was back on his feet in less than 20 seconds. He let a couple of little light ground and pound sort of strikes, and if anything, Sean O'Malley kept throwing his legs up, threatening triangles, was rolling to his side. He was keeping Petr Yan off balance. You know, he just didn't really do a lot with the takedowns once he got him there, and I think that's why they didn't put a lot of merit in that. And then they saw the beautiful striking of Sean O'Malley. You know, maybe some of the judges were seduced by that. You know, and you never know what kind of style those particular judges have an affinity for. And a lot of times they just enjoy watching guys like Sean O'Malley more than they like watching Petr Yan. But I just want to say, it could have easily gone to Petr Yan. I agree with that. And if I were judging the fight, and at the end of the fight, I felt like Petr Yan was the clear winner. Not by a large margin, but I would have given him the fight as a split decision. 2 rounds Petr, 1 round O'Malley. But this whole narrative that it's a robbery and oh my God, Petr got robbed. No, he was not robbed. It was close. Sean O'Malley had way too many moments in that fight for it to be a highway robbery, as people are describing it. So get over yourself. It wasn't a robbery. You could argue that the judges got it wrong, that it should have been in the favor of Petr Yan, But I personally am happy about that because I like Sean O'Malley, and I think if we learned anything about Sean O'Malley from this fight is that he's not all flash. That dude can scrap. That dude is tough. That dude can take a shot. And he got the win. I have a feeling we'll see those two guys face off again in the future, so I wouldn't make a huge deal out of it. But I'm here to call out these people who are online yelling robbery. I can't tell you how many times looking around on YouTube I've seen the word robbery in the titles of these people's videos, and that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Even if you think Petr Yan should have had the fight or edged out the fight, there's no way in this universe or any parallel universe where MMA is a thing that is what should be considered a robbery. That's all I gotta say.